So listen, this is Revival Now, and I want to introduce my guest today. It's a mighty man of God, a revivalist in the nation. Please welcome the founder of Winds of Healing Ministry, John Laframboise.
How you
Welcome.
doing?
John, tell me a little bit about you and tell me about your testimony and the things that God has done in your life.
Yeah, well, I gave my life to the Lord when I was about 16 years old or so. I had a little bit more of a rougher upbringing. Not necessarily that parents were rough with me, just really more a sense of just rejection. Couldn't find my place in the world. So right away at an early age, turned to drugs and alcohol. I think I had my first try of drugs when I was, 11 and a half, 12 years old or so. And by the time I was 13, I was selling it to my friends.
Sure.
And I got heavily into, the alcohol, the whole party scene, the typical party scene. And then shortly after, got even just really highly depressed. I started hearing different voices in my head, and got really gothic. Started dressing gothic. I had a foot-long mohawk. I had white paint on my face, really heavy, thick black eyeliner, black lipstick all over the place.
Sure.
I had a big black trench coat, boots up to my knees, fishnet stockings on my arms and on my legs. So just a real attractive young man.
Yeah.
And a street preacher came up to me, and this is what planted the first seed of the gospel. He asked me if I obeyed the 10 Commandments. And I said I had never murdered anyone yet, because that's the only one I knew. And I don't obey them, therefore I don't know them, I can't obey them, therefore I'm going to hell. But there's, even in his flawed approach, because I don't believe in condemning people. He says in John 3:17 that Jesus didn't come to condemn the world,
Right.
Bring life, to save the world.
Right.
And, but God still used that. It still triggered something on the inside of me where it brought in a conviction. The Holy Spirit still was able to use that. And for a couple of years, I just lived with this constant conviction. Also, this a fear, of what was going to happen in my life. And it was a friend's brother. I had a party friend. Every party we went to, we were together. We were like a dynamic duo.
Right.
When we got in trouble, we really got into trouble. Like all the police officers in the town knew our names, and and his brother just started witnessing to me. Kept on telling me about the love of God, kept on just accepting me for who I was. And one day it was after a party, and I was as high as a kite. I have no idea what I was on, but I was not in my right mind. But I was still had this conviction, still able to process this conviction and this fear of what was going to happen in my life if I never gave my life to the Lord. That was still really real. No matter what I did, I couldn't get rid of those thoughts and of those feelings of conviction. And then, so I just prayed. I said, God, if you're real, do something about it. Because I never really associated God as a God who would love me, who would accept me, just because of everything that was going on in my life. And I was hearing all these different voices in my head, just spewing out just negativity and all these demonic lies. I got suicidal. I was highly depressed. But when I prayed that prayer and I said, God, if you're real, do something about it. I felt like this hand reached down inside of me. It pulled something out. And instantly I was sober. I'm telling you, it scared me so much. It was a fantastic moment. It was like a war going on inside of me. It's the only way I could describe it.
Sure.
But I was instantly sober. The drug addiction left, alcohol addiction left right then and there. And for the first time in years, I was actually able to see bright colors.
Sure.
Everything, my vision actually just got dull.
Sure.
Everything was just heavily demonic and oppressed with everything about me. And I actually got drunk in the Holy Spirit for the first time at that moment. I had no idea what it was.
Right.
I just realized that I just felt happy. Everything was great.
That's awesome.
And I just thought it was the drugs playing tricks on me. So that's my first encounter with the Lord, which really was set the tone for the rest of my life.
That's awesome. So it doesn't matter how far anybody is, God can reach them right where they are.
Yeah, absolutely. It doesn't matter where you are, geographically, spiritually, God can meet you.
That's right. That's awesome. Well, listen, tell me about your ministry. You started Winds of Healing Ministry. Tell me a little bit about that and the heart behind what God has put in Winds of Healing Ministry and what you believe that purpose is.
Yeah, the Winds of Healing really was birthed from that point of salvation. As soon as I gave my life to the Lord, I knew that I had to go back to the people that I was sending to hell, essentially.
Sure.
These people that through my own endeavors I have corrupted and ended up getting hooked onto drugs as well. So immediately I went back to my old friends. I told them I gave my life to Jesus. In fact, right when I gave my life to the Lord, I was actually with a group of friends. We had just left a party. And I drew a line in the snow, and I told them that I gave my life to Jesus. And if they want to give their life to Jesus as well, just cross this line and we'll pray together.
That's awesome.
And they all kind of laughed at me and walked away, and that's actually right then. That's when I prayed, So, and so I had my first altar call before I was even officially saved, really.
That's right.
And so I went to the streets immediately, and I started telling people about the Lord, giving my testimony before I even really got trained up in it or was told it's the right thing to do.
Sure.
And then eventually started, reading the Bible, started hearing sermons on healing, how God heals the sick, started reading books about it, reading books by Smith Wigglesworth and, all these awesome generals, John G. Lake and some of these guys. And so I just went out, just started praying for the sick, just started healing, trying to believe God for healing. And I started to realize I had this burden and this passion for soul winning, this passion to preach the gospel, and no one would give me a pulpit. Of course, young 16, 17-year-old guy, just brash, no wisdom whatsoever.
Right.
So I figured I'm going to make myself my own pulpit, which will be the streets.
There you go.
So every weekend we're out on the streets preaching the gospel, praying for the sick, seeing results.
Right.
And then but Winds of Healing officially got launched several years ago. I had done an internship, a 4-month internship with Fresh Fire Ministries. Mm-hmm. And from there, I ended up getting ordained with them at the time. And then it launched my international ministry.
Sure.
I was youth pastoring before that for about a year, and I was a missionary in Indonesia before and after the tsunami. So right out of high school, I went to Bible school. Then from there, straight into ministry. So it's the only thing I've ever really known is the gospel.
Sure.
It's just been a phenomenal trip since then.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So you and I have talked, and one of the things that comes to mind is your passion, especially for youth, and just see, from your own past, mm-hmm. that you don't see where people are, but what God can do. So just encourage somebody out there that's got the same drive and same passion, but maybe they're stuck, and maybe they have a desire to do something, but they just need to get over that hump and see themselves doing it. What would you say to that person?
Yeah, I would say don't wait for anyone to give you opportunity. Make your own opportunity. Right. The doors of opportunity say push. And so many times I hear of so many people, young and old, who are saying, well, I have a prophetic call, to prophetic works, to go to the nations. God called me to do crusades. God's called me to be the next Bill Gates, and you have, which are great things, whatever God's called you to is fantastic, but you have to make your own opportunity. Don't wait for someone to hand it to you. If you're called to preach, get out there, start practicing, learn how to preach, learn how to put a message together, learn how to pray for the sick. Go out there and just do it. And as your gifts are being developed and as you're making your gifts available to the world, it says that in Proverbs that the gift makes a way for you, will open doors for you. So as people start developing and walking out your call, it will attract people to you. Right. So don't wait for an opportunity. Go create your own, no matter what it is that you're trying to accomplish in life.
That's right. That's good. That's good. Sometimes people wait for the approval of man, and quite frankly, a lot of times you'll never get the approval of man. And so that's good. If you're waiting on somebody to affirm to you that you're wonderful and anointed and all that, you just may never happen.
Yeah, forget it.
But one thing, the only one that really matters is God affirms us.
Absolutely.
And then that's what matters. If He says we are this way, we are this way. So that's good. Listen, I got to look through. You come up with a manual for a school of evangelism. Tell a little bit about that.
Yeah, the school is called Street Prophets. It's something that was birthed a few years back. I was just sitting there in service one day at a conference, and I just realized that I just sort of need to be a practical teaching on evangelism. So I put together this manual called Street Prophets. And it's a 12-lesson course that I teach, and it all gears down to the basics of evangelism, where we'll teach the theory of it, the benefits of evangelism, the spiritual increase that you get from it, and how to go, but most importantly, how to do it. We'll teach people how to move in boldness, how to get a word of knowledge, and how to deliver a word of knowledge on the streets, how to grow in the power of God, and how to pray for the sick. So it's all geared on making you really essentially a street prophet.
Sure.
It's it'll equip you